Ahoy. The delay is really, really slow today. I'm not sure why. I might just do a little bit of studying on my hatching. I don't have one because I fucking can't stand using Instagram. I open it up and it's constant reels and I get fucking mad at it. And I don't know how to build an audience there. So I don't know. Every time I look at it, every time I log into it, I get fucking irrationally frustrated and I don't have the energy to try to build anyone notice me there because it's so primed against artists now. I'm on Blue Sky quite often. I can't deal with the Instagram algorithm requirements for me. It's so fucking frustrating that I can't do it. It shouldn't be, but it used to be okay for artists, but it's primed against artists now and just slot. So, and I can't compete with slot. Yeah, I really like Blue Sky. It feels like kind of like a mix of old Twitter and old Tumblr kind of combined. There's like actual communities and you can actually interact with fans and it's not just a big pile of shit. Yeah, the community's smaller, but at least I'm not like miserable when I'm there, so you know, there's that. How much trouble am I getting in for drawing these huge honkers on YouTube? We'll see. Briefly, I don't think I think I'm pretty radioactive on approach. I think I do really well in the industry, but no one's really approached me. I used to work in the industry like 15 years ago. Yes? What? Well, now we got AI to do my job, so let's not kid ourselves. Just printing out a D&D manual that started crapping because my printer's a piece of shit. I think I gotta do more deep cleans. Pencil printing. Yeah, I'd probably be really great in industry, but I have to have someone come and approach me. Or I can go and look for work, but honestly. Yeah, people are terrified of porn artists. The West is terrified. Japan doesn't give a fucking fuck at all. They're just like, be discreet if you can, please. Chris and Zach, eh? Are they hiring? I like that art was robbed from us. The people who needed the less being kicked down on got kicked down on by tech bros. Of all the people to fucking, it's not like accountants or business managers. I mean, they're getting their jobs fucked too, but the people who needed the least of this get the most of it. It's really bullshit. And I mean, listen, I've talked about this. I don't have as many reservations as everyone about AI. I want an AI color filler. I hate color filling. I just want my color fills to be complete, and then I can just tweak the colors. I hate going in and manually filling colors. I hate it. I don't like it on... I like painting traditionally, but I hate color fills on digital. It's not fun. It requires a lot of precision. A tablet can't really do well. When I'm using traditional and I'm using a brush, it's way more fun because the expression you get out of a brush is more challenging and faster. But after all these fucking gallons of water we use and all of this electricity, there still is, by the way, you can go look, there still isn't a simple just color fill this line art. Not take this line art and draw it color filled. Just provide the flat, like, no line art color fill data as a separate PNG. It still doesn't exist. Yeah, I used to pay a flatter when I had money. I don't have money anymore. I used to employ a flatter full time pretty much when I was doing a lot of comics and a lot of work, but the income dried up and I can't afford that person anymore. So there was a time I did that quite often. Anyway, the point I'm making is anyway, the point I'm making is that there are solutions to be fixed with AI, but they're not going to be fixed because they present no income potential. There's like the money to be made out of a flatter software is nothing compared to targeting a bunch of people who are using AI as basically a toy. It's, by the way, guys, I just hope you understand, when we look back at AI, we're going to be, oh, it was just like a little toy. It was a little toy to keep people who have big dreams occupied while they robbed you blind for that toy. They're all just little toys. They're very, very complicated toys, but they're just toys. They're little gizmos that make you feel like you're doing the thing you want to do. Let's just be very clear. They're effective because they sell you the promise of doing the thing you want to do. Like, I want to be a writer, so I'll use software, this toy software. Think of it like a Fisher-Price keyboard, typewriter. Like, it makes you feel like you're doing the thing, but ultimately you're just banging on a little plastic keyboard. Like, you know what I mean? No, I know it's listen, on the surface level it's a toy. In the reality of things, it's a lot more sinister. The truth is that if you can make a movie on their software, they can make a movie on their software. And why give you the chance to make money in making a movie and getting attention when they can just make them do the movie without you and just cut you out of the equation? The second they can cut you out of the equation, or you're not the thing that makes the money anymore, they'll just go do the thing for you. If you can be cut out, you will be cut out. Just don't delude yourself into thinking like, oh, this will make my dream come true. If you want to make movies, the problem is that if you use AI, you're going to trash the movie industry until no one even knows what a fucking movie is anymore. You're applying old world logic to new world problems. Well, then are you on my Discord? If people are offering me free work, I'll take it. I can't afford to pay people anymore, but I can afford some new handouts from now and then. If you're on my Discord, just message me or some shit. And if you're not, someone link the Discord. I should have it in under most of my videos. I can't make you do anything, guys. Guys, I'm still trying to learn it myself. I'm trying to learn anime even after all these years because anime is actually quite hard. Honestly, if someone came to me and said, that I want to draw in a way that is fulfilling and will impress my friends, I'd say learn life drawing, because in portraiture, especially portraiture, because that'll just take you like 2 years, 3 years tops of dedicated focus, and you'll pretty much impress anyone with your abilities. But anime is like a very complicated concept to draw. And it requires both anatomy and stylistic interpretations, graphic art concepts, a very small, slender cage of ability, like a very small cage where you can function before you break it. Just don't bother. When art school teachers were like, "Don't do anime," they're right. Just to be clear, they're right. You can do anime later, but don't start with it. It's brutal. It'll just stump you. It'll stump you and it'll stunt you. Anyway, the point I'm making is even after 20 years, I still have a hard time with it. And it's because it requires a very, very specific set of concepts that I've been slowly breaking down that defy logic and anatomy, and it defies like standard learning protocols. I can help you draw a guy like this. I've been drawing since professionally and online visibly since 2007, I think. Some of you are probably as old as my current career. Yes, that's correct. So basically anime is Van Gogh and Da Vinci traditional. And even Da Vinci, it's funny, people really idolize and like lift him up. But if you like look at who he was an inventor and like basically the ultimate ADHD person first. And drawing was just the only way for him to communicate his ideas. Just got good at drawing because he had to. It's just like how in the old days, doctors, before photography, doctors all had to take art classes and had to learn how to draw so that they could draw both interpret and draw their observations. So quite often, most doctors were quite skilled craftsmen by the requirement of the role at the time. I actually think Da Vinci was more of a just praised ADHD brained inventor, engineer, hobbyist, obsessive hobbyist than he was really an artist. And I think art just kind of like was the only way for him to communicate his ideas. So he had to get good at it because he wanted. It's like getting really good at writing, not because you want to be good at writing, but because you want to just really communicate your world. So it's like the intent isn't to get good. The intent is to communicate first, and then the skills build around that intent. Anyway, so I can't really do a lot on YouTube. I can't draw too horny. I think it might be even more restrictive than Twitch, which I haven't been on in a I'm just gonna do some observational line control practice stuff. I've been doing a lot more cursive. I've been doing cursive, daily cursive drills because I'm trying to improve my line control. Brush calligraphy and cursive drills because I'm just kind of tired of having sloppy handwriting, and just what I found, what it helps is if I start with that, I can really see my lines tightening up. And art really requires a lot of attentive line control when you start. It kind of like, and then once that's kind of like established and you feel kind of a little bit of comfort, that becomes like kind of second nature. But you need to build that up every day. It's annoying. It feels like you should be able to, once you draw good, you could always draw good, but you have to build up every day a little bit of your line confidence. And that just comes from a good like 30-minute bout of attentive, focused work within guidelines, you know. So I actually think that's been pretty beneficial. And with the little like charts, like the letters and stuff, it's pretty easy to see if you're getting on track. And then once your like letters are pretty consistent, then you can be like, okay, I can start inking now too. Because if I'm like, you know, if the guide is like this and you're kind of like this, you got a little bit of more work to do. But if you can finally hit the letter pretty much on mark, you at least know that you're in a position to start like you're not ready to you're past the sketching phase and you can start doing more precise inking style work. I'm trying to think of how to get my shit together to do more effective tutorials. There's this part of me that understands I have to like get good at the process and be invested. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to invest all this time just to be ignored and neglected by the algorithm again. It's kind of like a self-reinforcing system because I just don't have the money or time to blow all this time on tutorials if it can't generate an audience. I don't even care about the money, guys. I just want YouTube to tell people what I have to tell people and not be in the realms of like hundreds of viewers only. Be nice to maybe hit 5,000. That'd be great. So like blowing all this time trying to make videos so that no one can see them is not very engaging. So I'm trying to think of how to make an effective video that doesn't require all my time. I'm still thinking about that today. I can't make a video that checks all the algorithm boxes. It feels bad. It makes me feel bad. It's not how I want to communicate my ideas. I don't want to like do this, don't do this. I don't want to do the shit that's required of me. So I need to find like a way to still be noticed but not fucking say it wrong in a way that I don't like. No, I know it's editing, but it's not just editing. It's just like you have to edit it, then you have to make more content, then you have to make more content, then you have to put aside that time to make that content. And as a person who has ADHD, the more steps you put in it, the more chances of it has to fail just outright because there's too many steps involved. I wasn't posting a lot. Listen, guys, I've talked about this quite a bit. I've been kind of like MIA because I let a lot of anxiety build up. Between the burnout of drawing for so long and having a hard time retaining my audience and dealing with the social media algorithms kind of like muting me, I'm just kind of like, and then the anxiety kind of building on top of that, I just kind of recoiled, turned inward from the internet, and then in the long run that hurt me even more. I've been just kind of trying to force myself to be online, which is a requirement of my business. And honestly, if I had a bunch of bitcoins in the bank right now, I just have a nice house and then I'd be alone to draw and do my own devices. So just to be honest, I don't particularly want to be out here doing this, but it's important for me and it's still a required of my business, or at least to salvage what's left of it. So that's the reason for being the higher visibility than usual. Right now I'm in my trying to be an adult artist phase here. And I don't mean like an adult like porn, I mean big boy pants. Listen, I understand. Listen, here's the thing with me. I have very strong, high observation skills. I know what the problems are. I know what my emotional problems are. I know all. problem isn't what to do, it's how to do it and execute it on my own. That's all. At least that's only half the battle, really. I see the problem. I know what the problem is. And the truth is I'm also I don't want to say a slow learner. I have learning disabilities on top of everything else. I know this for a fact now. I know seeing other people learn things 2-3 times faster than me and knowing how dumb they are, that I have serious learning disabilities and that I have to learn I can't just sit down and like observe a word and then do flashcards and then eventually that sticks in my brain. That's pretty magical an idea to me, but some people can just do it and it works. But I could probably look at the same flashcards for 5 years, and I know this because I try and I still try to learn Japanese, and I could be looking at the same fucking word for 10 years and it will never stick unless I use alternate learning methods. The amount of time I've put into learning Japanese and art, I should be leagues better than I am. Well, I've come to terms with being a special learner, a slow learner. I mean, I've had the test done. Like, I'm not self-diagnosing. I've had to learn two learning disability tests. I had basically, when I went to see if I had ADHD, I did a learning disability test as well. And that's been the case since I was in preschool. I think every other year, teachers would drag me into a learning disability test, because I remember having done them 1st grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, and 7th grade. And it's just my inattentiveness was so extremely bad that they just thought I was dumb. So then they put me in the dumb boy class, the slow learners class, and then it was even worse because that's just a class full of people who are not actively trying to learn and just either problem causers or severely disabled. So it's just like, well, I'm not gonna learn even more. Sorry to drop this lower on you guys. I'm not talking out of turn here. I'm just giving you a perspective from someone who's lived the learning difficulty lifestyle. And it's not that I don't think I can learn. I think I just can't learn through traditional simple methods. I think I'm good at teaching other people because the methods I've had to employ to teach myself are so... I have to use so many different methods to try to communicate an idea to myself that by the time I've understood it, I have multiple methods to teach other people. Because the reality for a lot of people who learn art is they don't know how to communicate how they improved. I've asked quite a few artists who are just like, LOL, I don't know, I just drew a lot. And that's correct. That's the correct answer. If you just draw a lot, you improve. For most people. Not everyone, though. A lot of people have very hard heads and they're either authoritarian or oppositional defiance disorder, or just little shitheads who think they know art better than everyone. And that's not always a personality problem. Quite often that's just an extension of the learning disability. You know, you have a hard time learning and then a bunch of people tell you why you're an idiot. and then they don't communicate any reasonable way for you to understand, so then you learn to just distrust authority or people who claim to be positions of authority because of their inability to communicate to your very special moron brain. So I think it's a reinforcing system. You know, you learn to distrust authority, and then it gets harder and harder to take advice from people who have mastered things because you just distrust authority in general. Hi. I don't think I have a lot more to learn from. I mean, there's a lot more to learn. From this page, lately I've been trying to improve my understanding of like line hatching and line art without over focusing on precision. So my idea is more about how do I master patience and the Gestalt, concepts of Gestalt. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that the sum is bigger than the what is it? The sum is bigger than this. No, the whatever is bigger than the sum of the parts. What the fuck is it? Anyway, the idea is that all the individual components alone don't mount up to the same. So, and how that applies to art is the idea that over focusing on like precise artwork and line work has less value than kind of, I don't want to say rushing to a finished piece, but if you can't see the completed version yet, then you can waste a lot of time trying to perfect lines that aren't even going to play a big part in the whole image, because it's really the whole image that counts, not the individual strokes. And I've been really bad for that. I'm pretty detail focused, or I have been pretty detailed focused and like line art quality focused. The whole, yes, that's sorry, you got me. You got me with real. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Really applies to art. I think fully mastering that concept, which is in line with accuracy over precision, as your number one priority as an artist, is to focus on completing and looking at final images, not doodling pages and pages of, you know, eyes and hands and arms. Although those are fun and those allow you to learn a different kind of skill. When it comes to providing a completed concept and understanding where your art fits in the grand scheme of things when it comes to presentation, it's really important to rush to a completed. And when I say rush, I mean it will feel like rushing. It might still take quite a long time, but to like really push yourself to see a completed image before you You know, what I'm talking about is this idea where people, when you watch people draw, they draw a face and they control Z constantly, and essentially their drawing is just a collection of the worst draw. Like, their drawing is 90% bad lines, and I hate that feeling, and I've been really fighting to not feel that feeling anymore. I'd rather have a wrong line every 10 lines is a wrong line than have press Control Z 90% of the time. And I think there's a lot to learn with accepting imperfections. And I think digital art really robs you of that concept, that it allows you to punch outside of your weight class, and not in the positive way. Because usually that expression, from my understanding after researching it, means, you know, the person is like able to fight outside of they're so good they can punch big fat guys. But I think there's a time when you're doing that and you're failing. You're punching out of your weight class, but you're using crutches to do it. You know, you're putting lead in your gloves, or in the case of Control Z, you're using a literal time machine to decide when to punch. So that like flow state, that meditative state where you're kind of like your body flushes of anxiety and you can channel your creative core and not think about all the like anxiety anymore. It never comes to you because you're always in that initial state where your mind is always hyper fixated on perfection and anxiety. So regardless what people think, you know, oh hey Doxy, you're you know, you've competently drawn many things. What's the big problem? The problem is that for the most of that time, it wasn't that fun. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel like I was achieving anything. It just felt like I was getting the end result. I was getting to an end result that would eventually come, but without any like panache or flair or ease or comfort, de-stressing or, you know, whimsy. It was always kind of like a forced endeavor. I always got there by force. And I knew that wasn't initially the case for everybody. I know a lot of people have this kind of mentality, and I know it's not unique to me, but I also know there's other people out there who just really love drawing, and it's very satisfying. And it's always engaging to them, and it's always fulfilling, because I've seen them and I've seen them talk about it. And that's what I really wanted for myself over the last, but it's going to be almost 2 years now. But I had to work really hard to kind of get to that state, at least recently. The problem is that getting to a state where I like drawing involves drawing a lot of things that don't bring money, and completely decoupling art from social media, which is also sort of business death knell if you really think about it. So now I'm in this middle phase where I'm trying to really retain this joy for art that I've earned. That took a lot of hard work to get to, and then kind of creep my ass back into making a proper living and paying my bills, and keeping both. And it's very precarious because I really can't go back to drawing like a machine. And thanks to AI, I can't draw like a machine. I can't even draw like a machine anymore. I can't compete with a machine. The position of drawing like a machine's been filled now. So what I'd like is so that when I draw, I'm not overthinking. Things might be just a little wrong, but when I'm done, I can look at the thing I'm drawing and I like it and I want to look at it again. That's been the big difference. I actually like looking at my sketchbooks now. My sketchbooks aren't just a series of like how I did this wrong. Quite often there's a lot of things that drawings aren't good, but there was a lot of peace and joy in that process, and because it was a choice I was making to do that work, because I know that when I drew that, I wanted to sit down and draw that. It's free of like anxiety. So it doesn't have to be a good drawing. It just has to be a moment of peace when I drew it, so that I can even just reflect it and enjoy the joy I felt from just having a moment of peace. So when you see me drawing this sort of thing, I'm trying to tap into that idea of like, how would I draw something? If I could draw a comic, you know, what would the style be where I wouldn't obsess over the perspective too much, but still have enough skill to not be completely wonky? Because that's what I'd like. I'd like to be able to just draw comics kind of like in this style here, you see, where it's good enough to represent the ideas. It's competent enough to express what I want to express, but not miserable to do. I'm just tired of having a miserable time when and that's just because of perfectionism, and high anxiety and workaholism, all that shit. And there's a bunch of artists out there who are successful. They don't have a hard life and they're very fulfilled while drawing, and I want some of that. I'd like to be able to draw all day, be successful at it, and it not be an anxiety-inducing, high panic, high frustration activity. That it's just there's just a lot of fulfillment, and in it, that's it. And I know there's like probably a way for me to get to that point, but it's been very difficult for me to pin down what that is. Careful not. Think a little. A lot of this is also just like, I want to draw like, you know, people I really admired as when I was young, but the more I reflect on it, you know, I really like Masamu Nishiro, who's a big influence on me. But I was drawn to his art when he was after like 10 years of solid drawing comics. You look at his like first comics like Appleseed or Black Magic 66 or whatever. It's nowhere near as competent as Appleseed, like chapter 4 of Appleseed. But you know, when I'm drawing, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm gonna draw like Appleseed when he started. I'm gonna draw like when he was after 10 years of non-stop illustration. And that's a wound you do to yourself psychically. Like that's some psychic damage you do to yourself, where it's like when I look at my drawings, it doesn't look like one of the top tier talents in the world after they've been doing this for 12 years and after they've gone to like professional drafting school And as like a 13, 14, 15-year-old, the kind of like mental psychic damage you do to yourself thinking that that's an acceptable level of output is insane. And then you apply that requirement, and of course every stroke will feel bad because it's nearly I'm not saying I couldn't get to his level now, but it's unachievable. And if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to put any of that into context, and then you're going to be disappointed and frustrated with your art. I mean, for me, doing comics, there's parts that are very easy, and maybe some people would find it the hard part. I find the storyboard part to be very, very hard because not only are there a lot of options, but it requires a lot of thinkiness. It requires a lot of thinking, which I don't mind doing. I can just do it alone, but thinking and drawing and like it requires just a lot of mental exercise, especially if you're trying to do it competently. If I didn't give a shit, if I just wanted to do it bad, then it'd be very easy. Just go like, the character enters the room, okay, and you draw a door, and the character, you know, hello, I'm entering the room, right? But with a person who's like, who wants to really communicate very strong storyboard telling, you're like, are they going to come from below? What's the point of that? Well, if there's like, they're coming into a room and there's a tall person, maybe you have them come from below, but that requires like understanding, you know, like a bunch of things snowball. That's why a lot of storyboard artists tell you to just keep things like very simple and then worry about that later. But my problem is that if I draw this box of a character entering a room, I'm not going to really want to change it too much because I'll be like, well, the drawing's there. I don't know. It's hard to communicate how difficult it. Why is my printer not working? Let me use it. Comics is very hard and requires extremely multi-talented. Be very, very, very multi-talented. Story writing, storyboarding, inking, sketching. This is why a lot of comics aren't even made by one person. You think they are, but they aren't. Most manga of any repute have a staff of like 3 or 4 people. Just coming up with a script once a week. Imagine having to come up with a script for a comic every week that not only has to satisfy fans, but has to like follow any lore you've set, not break any character. Like, it's just a lot to ask out of a person to be. I think there are probably people who are out there who could do very good stories, but cannot function within the current creator economy that requires constant output. I think we're really kind of robbing ourselves of very good works by insisting that only people who can consistently output are the only people who can have careers. That's why a lot of like big name stuff, a lot of like in the, you know, books tend to have bigger splashes when it comes to creative cultural impact, because quite often a creator can spend, 10 years on one book and never make another book again. And that's their contribution to writing. Our current social media creator system does not want anything to fucking do with that. You're not allowed to exist in our current system if you don't function as a consistent, shoveler of content. And that's a wound we've inflicted on ourselves. We've accepted that as default. Don't have to. But hey, I guess there's some good stuff happening right now. I don't mean to be... Listen, guys, I'm kind of like this. I'm sorry. It's just kind of... Not a sad sack, not a sourpuss. I'm just very introspective. I spend a lot of time alone thinking to myself, and sort of stuff kind of creeps in. One month, tried 14 pages in a week. A lot of them are that. I'm pretty sure One Piece is every week. I don't believe anything about China till I see it. Sorry, guys. Until I don't believe Chinese propaganda until I actually see it happen. I don't believe there's solar panel farms until I actually see it. They're so prone to lying that until I actually see a nuclear meltdown, nuclear fusion meltdown, I don't believe it. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but Chinese police force and EMTs are trained to put up little, like, privacy shields first before helping people. Literally, the first order of operation for any emergency task, police activity, EMT is to put up a privacy shield to hide whatever they're doing. Not interfere, it's not help, it's hide and protect activity. It's they got a little they pull out a little shield and they walk over and block cameras. So whatever, sorry, not to China bash here, but whatever society decides that the first order of operation is not help a person but hide whatever they're going to do from the populace, I'm not interested in whatever they got to sell me. I'm sorry for any China people here, but I don't think you're allowed to be on YouTube. I think YouTube's blocked. You got to go on China YouTube, Weibo or whatever. This process is kind of interesting. My SP is dropped. Oh, my social points. This ink method is interesting. It's like has nothing to do with the logic of the clouds, but it's just like obsessively rendered clouds. It's interesting what a deadline does. I got my Dojin done and rendered. I got 12 pages dated in 12 hours because of deadlines. So the problem is that sort of stuff burns you out, and then you don't want to make comics. There's like a middle ground where you're doing good work, but you can do it consistently day after day after day. Yeah, it's like fingerprints in the sky. It's interesting. I'm trying to focus more and more on form, line art that follows form and less as a volume. The way I used to do hatching before is hatching was less about following the form, which is a style. You don't really have to do that. And it was more like a screen tone effect. Like I was just using it as like 2D pattern, if that makes any sense. Right now I'm on my tablet, but my precision isn't going to be great. If I was on my iPad. But honestly, I could be doing worse. Anyway, but because I'm doing good enough, I'm going to stick it out here because drawing on the computer has a different vibe to it than on the iPad. I don't have to move my hand as much because the surface area on the tablet is very small. So, you know, a little, you know, this sort of screen-wide movement is only like a centimeter or a half inch. For you freaks out there and your fucking imperial measurements, no freedom unit. You guys love kings. Yeah, it works. I mean, if you have like elegant stuff, I'm trying to like think about, I've been like looking at a lot of woodcuts and old engravings and stuff, Victorian ink work. But my approach to inking was always yeah, I was just DM. If you're in my Discord, you should be able to message me directly. Yeah, you don't have to change the tip if you don't draw hard. I've really taught, I think using brushwork, I've really taught myself to be very light on the touch. I think it really helps like shoulder pain. Anyway, so here, this is how I used to do like texturing, where it's like, you know, hatching tend to be more about like, just like a fill. Does that make sense? Now my approach is more about trying to learn how to do the form, which is just the style in itself. There's not like, this is not better or worse. This is just more of a kind of old school traditional kind of approach. A lot of inspiration I'm taking a while is from Godiva Ghoul, who does a pretty good job of it. They keep it nice and clean. They don't go too overboard, just a little bit of that effect. A lot of double lines on outlines and stuff. I'm gonna do a little bit more of this. I'm gonna get this car, and I like this car. There's a very distinct look to like 80s, early 90s era manga that has this kind of feel to it. This sort of feel. Where there's a lot of line doubling and grunginess. Very grungy. Especially you see that the light rims has like multiple doubling and tripling of the lines. It's not hyper precise. It's not the cleanest, but like I said, the sum of the parts. It's more about just as a whole, the image is very cohesive. Consistency across the whole image. I'm going to assume a wheel's right here. And I like this old way of doing the debris. Just like rogue quill. I'm not quite sure. This was a very common way of approaching this. During like the Appleseed Bastard era, I really enjoyed the texture and the look of comics work during that time. Everything's gotten very pilot, milliliner, no textural detail, just like, I mean, I think it comes a lot from if you look at Naruto, you can really see that like style cleanup. If you look at the first like Naruto comics, something that's very peculiar I noticed right away when I was reading Naruto back in the day was there's no screen tones at all. It's just, you know, Millipen and then blacks, and that's it. And it's two overlays. It's a red overlay and it's a green overlay. And I'm drawing with here, if I trim, this is what it looks like with it off. I'm just drawing with black, and then this is the green overlay, and this is the red overlay. That's how you get that effect. I should just sell this template I use on Gumroad for like $1 or $2, because I just use it all the time. But the double overlay gives that kind of sepia effect. And now I don't have to, I'm not picking any colors, I could just draw with gray. And if I pick a color, it'll look like this. So it's basically supposed to represent like a chewed up marker. Like a really grungy marker that's like quick to darken on overlaying. Or at least that's the appeal to me. Also, I feel like the more I do background work, the more I think people kind of drain me, but I could do background forever. Now that I've like earned enough patience to do this background work, I think drawing humans is really draining, taxing. Probably some undiagnosed autism stuff where the robot part of my brain doesn't have a problem understanding objects, but when it comes to people and trying to draw them emotionally, it's very taxing. It's so easy to be wrong also with a human. People could tell immediately when a face is wrong or when anatomy's wrong. But with like, you know, maybe cars you can tell, but like with objects and buildings, most people can't. Well, bug me after the stream because I can't function right now while I'm drawing. Yeah, I like abstract art. There's some abstract art I really get into. And I draw my own abstract art in my sketchbooks quite often. I don't post it because it's pointless. All my audience wants is not my audience, sorry. The algorithm will push something that isn't porn, and then my audience won't care, and then the algorithm will learn to not push my content anymore. So it's a net loss to share or be creative on social media, just so you guys know. The same for YouTube. Don't betray your audience or the system will stop promoting you. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out after. This is my like drawing time, so I don't want to really think about it. But I do need to think about it. So yeah, right now my ability to draw straight lines is not straight lines, sorry. Draw pretty consistent lines is good. So this process is a lot more enjoyable for me. And when I draw things like this, I'm actually just also trying to convince myself that it's okay if I want to do this for my own work. Because this looks fine. I mean, I'm building off of the original concept. Now I'm not referencing it as much anymore, that I have an idea of what this is. But quite often, a lot of my problems when it comes to art is just giving myself the permission to do it. Instead of defaulting to the like, people expect this from me, or that's why people were like, why do you have so many names and why artists change names and have pet names? It's because the anxiety and pressure of performing and executing something in a specific way can be very stifling for certain people. I know it is for me. And the feeling of getting no response from an audience that doesn't give a shit about something you're doing can be very daunting and deflating. Knowing that what you're presenting is actually quite good, it's just being shown to the wrong people, and there's another audience out there who will really like it. Once again, this is all the annoying shit that comes with being on the internet, where you're supposed to box yourself in. The system is meant for you to be boxed in, and breaking out of it is like quite a lot of work. But this is quite a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy drawing these shit-ass clouds that make no sense. And as much as they're kind of tedious in a way, I enjoy the challenge of just trying to stay a little bit within the lines. And they're nowhere near as challenging as I thought they'd be. once you've got enough, like I said, once you've got enough of this gestalt set up, once you've got enough done, then it kind of just starts flowing into, each shape flows into the other, and it gets a lot easier. The precision doesn't matter because you have enough established art on page for it to carry itself. So as long as I'm not fucking up constantly, it becomes easier and easier to sell this presentation. Oh, that's neat. Let's finish this off with some lines like this. That's whatever these are. What does it say here? Taylor Mazer, 2013. They're nice. Might have to borrow this someday. I think it'd be a good present. I think it'd be good to whip. If you had like a normal comic and then one day there's like a big event that happens, or a big like fight, or you know, a foreboding clouds, and they look like this, and the normal comic doesn't have too many graphic elements, I think it'd be very effective. I think if you always drew them like this, it'd be too much. But I think if you wanted to have like draw clouds like this on like your main character's worst day of their life or before a big event, it could be very effective at making the clouds feel ominous. Yeah, I mean, this would probably take, if I were to do this for realsies, it would probably take me 6 hours. It's not that bad, honestly. And if it was a full page, like this whole thing, I don't know, maybe less. Maybe probably 3. I don't know. It wasn't too bad. The big problem is having the original sketch and having the confidence to try to pull it off. I wouldn't be able to pull this off without a reference. I'd be too namby-pamby. I'd be too much of a baby to try to pull off full-on crazy clouds. A lot of this drawing I'm doing is mostly about just trying to... It's me just trying to... like I said, just build confidence in being non-traditional. Tell myself it's okay to explore art like this, instead of being like, oh well, you know, no one will care, or there's no audience for this. Just be like, it's because that's how I want it to look. I talk about this quite a lot, and I think it's worth repeating. I think my biggest problem with the YouTube tutorial sphere, and I don't know how to communicate this either effectively, so maybe it can only be done through streaming. But really the thing is that a lot of my art hangups and improvements and like how I've improved myself is from a very psychoanalytical perspective, or sorry, just like from a therapy perspective, basically, from a confidence perspective, from like years of baggage and hangups, a lot of them self-inflicted. Wish I could help people with that, because I think a lot of people are going to YouTube for technical help when the majority of their problems are not. A majority of what's blocking them has nothing to do with their technical abilities or their willingness to learn or the material they're using. I'll be honest, most people are set up to learn quite effectively on their own with just a little bit of guidance. You don't need a million YouTube channels. A lot of the blocks are just going to come from inside of you, and very few people are out there properly communicating that, how to fix that, because the people who are dealing with that aren't making YouTube channels because they are dealing with it. The people who've got it nailed and are like mentally prepped and have everything set up to achieve are making YouTube videos because they're in that mindset. They don't have a lack of confidence. They're not second guessing their understanding. They don't have like imposter syndrome. They don't have perfectionist problems. They don't have ADHD preventing them from completing anything. So you're just going to get a lot of information from people who have their shit together mentally. And so it's just a survivorship bias. You're just always just going to get a lot of technical instruction. The truth is that most of that technical instruction, you really just need a little bit of it and some gumption in your shit together to get good. You don't need the insane volumes and information you see on YouTube to get good. You need, like, honestly, if you went on Pinterest and downloaded 10 images, you could use those 10 images for a year to get extremely good. I could probably find you 10 images and I'd be like, just learn this, like memorize this, learn this until you never fuck it up. And that might take you a year, and then you'll be quite good. But art isn't like that, and doing things isn't like that. And I wish there was a bigger community of artists talking about the wear down, doing this for a long time, motivation, hang-ups, and all that stuff. I know a lot of that is personal and hard to communicate, or some people don't even know they have hang-ups. Just for visibility's sake, I think a lot of people just don't understand something's in the way, and it isn't their resolve, and it isn't their desire, and it isn't their skills. They're not really their fault. They might be doing everything right, but they're not primed to learn. Yeah, so I watched Steve. My only problem with him, I don't want to say he comes off as smug. I think he paints it out to be easier than it really is. I appreciate what he brings to the table, but he does fall into a lot of the, well, just do it, LOL. It's as easy as that. It's just like, it really isn't. Like, I'm a person who had it kind of like earlier in my artistic career. Things kind of came to me a lot easier because I was very inspired to do things. I was trying to explore, like, you know, all the stuff that I became known for. So I was very engaged, and things were kind of just natural. But, you know, as you draw and as you build up a baggage and expectations, a fan base, as the kind of walls close around you, as you're expected to perform in a specific way, it isn't just like just do it LOL. There's more complexity to it than that. And I'm not trying to be reductive to Steve. I think he's a very well-meaning, and he's one of the few artists who is out there communicating the right message. I just wish he'd be a little more mindful of the reality that not everyone's in the kind of same, not everyone's on the same playing field, even not even from a socioeconomic situation, just from a, your mind isn't playing fair with you. Your mind's not primed to do the work the same way. As a person with ADHD, the ultimate monkey's paw is that I can hyperfixate and learn things in a short bout of time, but then my brain, as soon as it feels that it's solved that problem, it doesn't really want to do it anymore. So it's like pointless skill acquisition. And then once you've achieved it, you're like, well, I did that, I don't have to do it anymore. That's like how ADHD brain is kind of wired. It's wired to solve, but not to persist. So you kind of rob yourself of the fruits of your labor, because you'll put all this work into it, and then you'll be like, okay, well then I'm done with that. Your brain decides it's completed the task. And if you don't have that perspective where it's not just learning the skill and sitting down and doing it, but learning to deal with the mind that's betraying your own desires, because it can't be arsed to it can't be motivated or arsed to do anything once it's decided that it's like figured it out, quote unquote. You have to find new methods of motivating yourself that aren't the ones that initially, gathered all your skills. That's why I talk a lot about earning patience, because that's just not something that's ever come natural to me. It's not something that I was taught, and it was not something I was not good at school at all. Sitting down and doing homework was like nearly impossible. That's just not the traditional reward cycles are not accessible to me. But when I sit down and I say I'm like trying to learn to be like patient, it's because it's a completely different way to try to stimulate my brain, that has with the understanding that there's no win state to this. That makes sense. I'm trying to teach myself that I'm doing something that doesn't get solved, that the actual process of doing it is all that there is to it, which helps really. And this is where I do appreciate Zapata, as he does talk about this, which is, I don't think he fully explains why he talks about it, and maybe he's talking from this perspective. But what he does is he talks about how there's concept artists, that are always trying to rush the process, try to optimize art. And I think comes down to this, is that I don't think all these people are trying to optimize art, because not all of them. I think a lot of concept artists are rushing art and hate their job because they've commodified art to the point where it's become completely devoid of soul. And if you're an artist and you're doing soulless work, then it's going to eat you alive. If you work at a factory and you can stomach working in a factory, it's not going to eat you alive. You know what it is. You know what factory work is. You're not entering the factory thinking like, I'm going to make the best widget today. You're going like, I'm going to do this X number of times to get a paycheck. And that's fine. I'm fine with that, right? But if you commodify and factorize, turn your work into factory work by trying to optimize your process, like, oh, I'll do this. If I use this brush, it'll make this process faster. If I use this, I'll make this process faster. Then I could show the producer faster and all that stuff. And he's right in that sense. What I don't think he covers, or maybe doesn't understand, is that certain people are optimizing art from a neurodivergent process, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to, once again, quote unquote, solve. They're trying to solve art. That's why they're drawing. They're not in it, not in the onset. Maybe later, like myself, in their lives, they'll be like, okay, well, I've acquired all these skills and I'm good at them, but I have nothing to really say with any of it, or I don't say anything that I personally feel very happy with. I think you can get into the trap of optimizing your art quite accidentally without being kind of like, while still being very into art and very interested in art. And it can just be kind of an accidental thing that happens to you, kind of accidental trap. But I do agree with him where he talks about this idea of, oh, you know, I got this brush and I use this mess, that, you know, the whole photo bashing branch of concept art, which, let's be honest, there's no reason to photo bash now. Just use AI. All that photo bashing was AI with extra steps. It was taking a bunch of other people's work, mashing it together and presenting it as a thing to be, you know, voted on by the director or producers or whatever. Its purpose was to be thrown out, was to be consumed once. And once that was done, then you could, like, well, quite hopefully at that point, do the real work. That's why I'm being very lenient, because he can only speak on his perspective. He seems to be doing pretty well for himself. He doesn't have many financial worries. He's figured out a way to draw every day, have a nice house, have a successful enough channel. So his concerns aren't like, oh, I want to keep, like, listen, so from my perspective, I know what I want to do with my art now. I want to be left alone to explore art and learn art in very specific ways. I want to do life drawing. I want to get good at charcoal drawing. I have very specific things I want to do that I can't do. And I know I could do them for days and days, and I know I can do them for the pure reason of art alone. But I am not in a financial position to do that. I no longer have that problem of how to fill sketchbooks. If anything, I have the problem of I can't afford sketchbook. You know, there's always going to be a problem, and I think it's really important that these people who kind of espouse this like creative, like blah blah blah, really understand it's not the creativity comes from your mind being at ease. Okay, being under the gun and being under the crunch to like create is never how it comes out good. I was just reading something today where this idea that Van Gogh, all of Van Gogh's art comes from a point of like, you know, negative, from this being framed in a negative way from his like internal fights and stuff, is factually inaccurate. Quite often, a lot of his art came from him during his recovery phase, or from being in a better state of mind, trying to, you know, trying to find peace, inner peace, right? But the populace at large, they like the narrative of a tortured artist, because they feel like, well, if this guy can draw good, he better be fucking in pain while he's doing it. I don't know, it's weird. I think we've seen with AI, and I know this as a personal experience, and this is before AI, with the populace's obsession with artists being tortured and in pain as some sort of like requirement for the process. I don't know where the sadism came from, if it's just jealousy of like, oh, this guy can draw good and I can't, I'm mad. If that's what brought AI to come to life, a bunch of angry tech bros can't draw, but like, well, I'll just make my own drawing machine. I don't know what it is, but I've known that it's existed my whole life. Even as a child, it's always been very clear, this idea that non-artists expect you to suffer, and they like that. They don't want it to not be that way. They want to own a drawing you made, and they know that when you drew it, you were in pain. And it's very fucking gross. And I don't know how that's permeated and why that's been romanticized. That they want to own your pain and they want to profit from it. Oh, I own this guy's art, and he had one arm and he lost his wife, and this is his last expression of his misery. And I own it, and I sold it for $4 million this year. Like, that's how normies can by normies I mean rich people with money who go to gallery showings, which is all a scam, by the way. If ever you wanted to understand how much a scam the gallery system is, just think about Bored Ape Club and non-fungible tokens. NFTs is basically how the gallery system works, but we got to see it on the world stage instead of it being hidden. It's all behind the scenes, like, okay, this artist's art, we're gonna make his art worth more. If we get him hooked on crack and then like fuck him over and he kills himself, it'll triple in value. Those are real conversations I have no doubt in my mind art collectors have. Or this artist didn't do a thing for me, so let's just ban him from all our things, and then, you know, he can't be an artist with a big name anymore. Or this person, my daughter, wants to be an artist, let's just get all our art in the galleries, I'll own a copy, I'll own a thing, and then make her a big deal. You know what I mean? It's all like, if you don't think that's happening, then you're a moron. Sorry to say it, but you're an ignoramus if you don't think that NFTs is just a visible digital version of the gallery system. It's unfortunate because it's very beneficial. It was very beneficial for people who weren't part of the gallery system once they could get in to get noticed before the internet, because there was just no other way. If you weren't part of the system and you managed to get noticed, you could make a whole career out of one gallery showing. Not only that, but artists back in the 1800s, 1900s, they're quite often they were well-to-do. To go to art school, you had to either, you know, especially in France, you had to have a lot of money, or you had to get like there were conditions, there were aristocratic conditions, or, you know, financial decisions, or, you know, you couldn't be just a dude. You had to have enough money and enough, you know, whatever, or enough things to parlay your way into that kind of situation. And then once you got out there, no one else was doing what you were doing. There was like 10 guys who could draw the best portrait. It was a very privileged position, and quite a lot of artists were very well to do, not only from like just the get-go because they had, you know, family, or they were wealthy to start, but then, you know, once they grew, what other way was there to get your name out there than a picture? Print really wasn't a big thing, or it was, but, you know, you could only print paintings and stuff people drew, so you immediately got attention. Artists being poor is kind of a new thing. Well, sorry, known artists. All artists being poor is a new concept. Like, I was reading that the comic artists, the comic strip artists from the 30s and 40s were making insane bank from their work. You know, and it's only when Marvel Comics started robbing artists of their fucking hard work and the rights to their own property did it become like artists make no money. Because prior to that, if you had a strip in the comics, you made those syndicate rights. You had, you know, you made that syndicate money. You made the fucking, you pulled in Dosh. So I don't know. It's like vilification and desire to see artists be completely miserable is this weird sadistic thing that I've known my whole life, and it's been around for a very long time. It's both like only some artists can do well, but I guess it's kind of this, I don't know, like I don't see this come from people who listen to musicians that aren't famous. Like when you think like, oh, this country musician, he's not very popular, but at least he's poor and he hates his life and he can barely make music. Like this idea that a musician has to be poor, I don't understand. It seems to be very, very relegated to only artists. It doesn't seem to apply to musicians or to other like kinds of like creative professions. Maybe like writers, but that's kind of like comedy writers are poor, but then you're like, well, they're comedy writers, you know, but then they're not. Like quite a lot of comedy writers do well and have a lot of social pull and cultural pull with their comedy writing. It's not like a position where it's like you're completely ignored socially or culturally. You can, you know, push that talent into multiple fields and, you know, make quite a name for yourself. I don't know. Yeah, there's like a 22-minute long showcase I watched from the 70s interviewing all the comic strip artists. That's like very glowing and positive, and it was really weird to see artists so like not humiliated, I guess. Like they weren't like, here's the artist, and then they cut away to show just the art. They don't show their desk. They don't show them leaning over towards the desk. They don't show their grungy faces. They're just like, we all love Garfield, and then they only show Garfield, and they never show Jim Davis. They don't show like the hours and hours and hours, or like the frustration, or like, here's the script I write, or here's like, you know what I mean? Like it's always like, okay, we said the thing you care about, but fuck the actual artist. They can go fuck right off. So seeing like a weirdly glowing, positive prime time interview of comic strip artists was very, very fucking strange and very nice. I might watch it again. It's quite good. It made me actually I used to hate Kathy as a kid. It made me actually really like Kathy, because I'm like Kathy pilled when it comes to cartoons. I really like the Kathy cartoon. I never thought I'd say that, but shit's good, man. I could really go for a modern Kathy comic that's animated. All right, how long have I been doing this mindless line art? I feel like an hour and 40 minutes. I think I've gotten everything I can get out of whatever this is. I got this leg in. That was fun. I like the style. I think it reads well. I think this line art stuff, this like kind of patching stuff feels good. I don't know how to incorporate it into a story or tell a story with it yet. Yeah, but the thing is, like, I always hear that it's like, oh, that art, it didn't take that long for them to draw it. But like, listen, guys, fucking working a 9 to 5 means the rest of your free time is yours. I don't know if you guys have to hear this or not, but drawing and getting good at drawing, the full-time affair. You don't get to just like walk away from it, especially if you want to be competent and improve and continue improving. You don't just get to walk away from it. You go home and you draw more, you make artist friends, you go to art classes, you pick up photography, you know, you collect books, you look up other artists, you know, it's kind of imprints itself on your brain, and it's not a task. It's such a multi-skill task that it requires quite a lot of your attention and focus, and it can soften and weaken if you don't do it. You know, I'd say coding is way easier than this. When I coding is way more ADHD friendly. It's faster. You get rewarded for it financially. It has like a win state. It's like a lot easier to do, honestly. It might be technically more difficult, but you can satisfy the condition of coding. The kind of unknown factor of art is really what can wear people down. Like, am I improving? Am I always going to be this way? Is anyone going to notice me? What am I really doing this for? Do I have a story in me that anyone cares about? Do I like what I'm drawing? I don't like my style. Like, the unknown factor is really the part that wears people down. And that unknown factor is not something everyone can stomach. I know that's been the biggest, hardest part of art for me, is just like, it's non-definable. It can be both, and that aspect can be both positive and negative for quite a lot of people. But yeah, I think this idea that they can see someone do an art and it looks fun to them because they don't see all the work that's involved into getting to that point. They want it. I think people want to see artists get punished. And I think that's always kind of been the case. Not always, like, for the all of time, but there's this weird envy from non-artists that I never understood. Because it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not the same with, like, I don't go to I don't go to a nice restaurant and get envious of a chef who made a really good, you know, salad for me. Like, I've never gone like, damn, fucking fuck that guy, I hope he doesn't like have a good life. Like, for some reason it's like really permeates creative fields. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because the output of an artist is never constructive, in quotations, sorry, even though the biggest field of all the big money makers right now are all creative fields. Movies, music, media, television, all of it. The only things that make an assload of money are all creative fields. So I don't understand. Like, I mean, the most visible, I guess other industries make a lot of money, but they have the biggest culture. Sorry, let me clarify. The things that make a lot of money and also have the biggest cultural impact. I think it's the culture. It can't be the money. It has to be the cultural impact. It has to be that the fact is that an artist can make a drawing and change people's lives. And I know that's for a fact that's true, because as Anta, I know from the multiple emails in my history as Anta that I truly had an impact on quite a lot of people's lives. So, and that's just from a few drawings, you know. And I think it can't really just be the money. It has to be the cultural impact. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Who can really tell? I like these ones. They're good shape. I don't think I liked them when I drew them, but honestly, if this was in a comic, this would be fine. I'm really trying to learn how to like fucking let go, guys. It's really hard. But these curly fluffs, they're kind of shitty. But yeah, I'd say the last month I've been poking away at this, and I think I'm getting to a point where I have enough patience, confidence that I can do this in a way I couldn't do before. But I'm glad I made this sheet because I really feel like coming back to this over and over is better than just grabbing a generic reference. Because I can kind of see my progress, and I can also like build on these ideas more and more and kind of feed myself into the feedback loop, the positive feedback loop of reaffirming the style, kind of like affecting an accent, right? Or doing a character voice. I feel like once I look at this page, I can be like, I can draw in this way right now. I can give myself the mental permission to draw in this way. I'm gonna maybe explore that, like making like design sheets, styles and stuff I want to do, making them really big and then coming back to them. Yeah, I mean, it's rough. On that point, I don't know. I'm trying to get out. So I have my Safe for Work account, but I post quite often too on Blue Sky, and I'd like to build it up, but I don't know how to yet. But I post on it a lot because I just like sharing that art. I wish more people would see the art, but I'm not too broken up about it because quite often I like all the art I post there. And I think that kind of perspective shift is important. I think being able to shrug off the attention as not always as it sucks. Listen, don't get me wrong, it'd be nicer if a bunch of people liked my art and I could make a living off of that style. But I do feel that you need to like your art enough to be able to be like, well, fuck those guys. You need to have a little bit of that. I don't think you need to be like impervious to neglect. I think everyone craves some attention and they want other people to see and understand what they're doing, for sure. I mean, it's a visual art. It's not an inner thought. The whole point that it's visual and quite often meant to be shared. I can post my Blue Sky here, I assume safely. I like these little W's. So my initial attempt was just kind of like, were these just kind of like non-focused lines? I don't know, they weren't even stemming from the same place. So on this one, it goes like this. I wasn't even doing this. I wasn't even stemming from the same place. There were just kind of three unfocused lines. Yeah, I have a feeling I want to say I'm somewhere in the spectrum, but definitely lower end. I haven't been tested for it, but there's definitely some strong PhD traits. Being able to go on for months without interacting with anyone socially, I assume, is one of them. Listening to the same music for 3 years nonstop because I don't want to deal with new songs. Obsession with the bounce lighting, no direct light, like hating shadows, weird shit like that. all kind of like collectively, I think, kind of speak to maybe some autistic traits. But I'd say definitely non-standard style, but probably maybe a little adjacent. I don't know. I am not diagnosed, so I can't make a proper claim, but definitely there's quite a few symptoms, I would say, or puzzle pieces, if you will. Not to be topical. Although, from my understanding, autistic people do not like a lot of autistic people hate the puzzle piece thing because it's from a society that's trying to eradicate autism instead of like being accepting of it, which is kind of cringe. I don't hate drawing shadows. I literally mean I hate shadows from light sources. Like, I'm like indirect shadow gang represent. Like bounce lighting is my bag. I need my light to bounce once. No direct lighting on me. Yeah, I just don't know if it's worth looking into at this point. They're gonna just tell me, oh, you have autism, and then they go, then what? And they go, I don't know, shrug. Then what? Okay, just add that to the fucking list of problems you have. Who cares? Last I checked, you just get to have autism. You don't, there's not like a pill. And at this point, I don't even think I'd bother. This is that's my big boy. I'm not an NSFW artist. This is artist just for me and nobody else. Blue sky. I kind of like a tree. So this is my initial take. This is my second take, and this is my third take. This is my first take. When I make something where I'm just trying to learn the process and learn the patience, so what I'm doing here and what you guys have been seeing me do is it's less about the subject matter and it's more about just like it feels good to draw. If that makes any sense, like the process of actually drawing the line, I enjoy it. And then secondary to that is the execution is good. So first is like, does it feel good to draw this line? Does it feel good to draw this sequence of lines? Does it feel good to draw right now? Are you know, is the subject interest? Is it something you're interested in from like a subject matter point of view? And then tertiary or quaternary, so all that is, am I drawing good? And it's really important I put that last instead of putting it first, because what my problem was always, am I drawing good? And the answer was almost always really not as good as I'd like. So all my drawing endeavors would start with not being happy. It really is a disease, a mental disease. The perfectionism and high anxiety. So my goal is like explore things that I've always liked in art, and I want to try to communicate myself. But then like the commodification in our current society requires you to make a buck, and that your art's not worth anything unless you're making a buck. And I'm trying really hard with this kind of art to be like, that's not part of what this is for me right now. So, and then in that, I'd have to say like my art's improved quite a lot. But that's a mechanism of actually wanting to draw, and drawing way more than I ever did. Because when I draw, I'm not sitting down to go, ugh, I gotta get this done, I gotta pay the rent. And quite often, every time I choose to sit down and draw and not do commissions, or not, you know, build my business up, or not do all the business stuff, I'm taking a financial hit, and I'm taking down a problem down the line. But I'm having to make those decisions now because I don't think I can keep drawing if I don't have these moments to myself. If I can't do this sort of thing, there's no drawing left for me to do without wanting to just give up, which is where I was 2 years ago. I was really on the cusp of just quitting art entirely, just maybe getting into coding or finding a day job and just moving past all this and finding some peace of mind. Money, art isn't, you could be an artist who never makes money, guys. No, that's not a happy sounding word. You could be, sorry, what I'm saying is this: getting good at art isn't how you make art as isn't how you make money as an artist. I made much more art at the beginning of my career when I was objectively worse than I am now, where I am objectively 100% a much better technical artist, a much happier artist. But I'm making way less money than I used to. That's just because making money as an artist isn't about being good at art. It's about satisfying clients, being noticed and being consistent and being in the zeitgeist, and timing. Like anything else, not about how good you are, it's about other factors. So if ever you do find success, count your blessings. As much as you can try to convince yourself it's because of how good you are, it quite literally isn't. It quite often has nothing to do with just how good you got at anatomy, and everything had to do with timing. It could just be even just that you got on Instagram when it was better for artists. You know, you could be the exact same artist, and then 2 years later the algorithm changes and no fame for you. It could just be as simple as that. Yeah, I'm in the same position. I've been having to take, in the last 4 months, I took 60 commissions and completed 40. And that's what I have to do after I'm done doing these doodles, which honestly, if I didn't have to do commissions, I'd be glad to sit down and cover this whole page over the span of days. I could easily see myself just doing this shit and talking shit all day long. I'm not even drawing faces. I really like doing portraiture as well. I can't stand where we are now, where we have to do short form content. I know I have to do it, and it's just so draining, and I have to build up all this confidence and emotional strength to like put up with the marketing position stuff I gotta do. But if I could just be left alone to learn how to do this hatching stuff and get really good at this hatching stuff, I'd really like that. I can draw like a giant. If I can do like a D&D locations, like make like a monster manual and a locations manual for fantasy or something, that'd be a lot of fun. Because then I could just do a lot of drawing and then kind of contextualize those drawings. Lore. It's fine. Yeah, and I think honestly, it's for some people doing commissions is hard because it's not even about it being hard. I think a lot of us artists have anti-authoritarian streaks in us, oppositional defiance disorder, and it's just like we don't want to do it because we're being told to do it. Literally, if we just decided we wanted to draw it ourselves, the same commissions, but it was our idea, we wouldn't have a problem. But it literally comes down to being anti-authoritarian or oppositional defiance, where we're just like, fuck you, you can't tell me what to do. And it's just an emotional problem. But I also think that stems quite often from unresolved ADHD issues, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video of the stream, where it's just you learn to distrust experts and figures of authority because they're unable to help you learn, because their teaching methods are meant to teach non-neurodivergent people, where, you know, doing flashcards actually fucking does something. So you're like, well, they don't know what they're talking about because when they teach me, I learn nothing. So you just learn to distrust authority. I should probably eat. Yeah, there's that too. I tend to do that a little bit. I've been working to not do it as much, but quite often I'll want to like feel happy with the work. And then what's worse is trying to do that changes the energy and the style of the art in a way that makes them less happy, because they just want the spontaneous art I draw normally. They don't want like this weird new style where I'm overworking the thing. So it's not even to your benefit. It takes longer, and quite often the commissioner is less happy. It's just a dumb decision. Yeah, I'm glad there's still, I think for a lot of commissioners, it was never, and I've always made this argument, that getting a lot of money in commissions was never because you drew the best. It was because you were recognizable or important within a community. And seeing how the commission, artist commissioner community still exists, I still stand by that observation and statement. A lot of commissioners are interested, I think, in both in a positive way, where they're interested in the artist's interpretation of their character. I think that's a positive way to enter. And I think there's a kind of a negative approach where I think some commissioners are collecting artists to show off, and they see the artist more as like an ownership thing, where it's like, I own this artist because I got them to draw this thing. I mean, in the end, I still get the money, so I'm not going to tell them how to enjoy their art. I definitely feel that's a less positive way to engage with your commissioner. But ultimately, hey, if they're paying, I'll be your Charizard. I don't care. And some artists, I think some commissioners just want a genuine opportunity to help an artist they like. I think quite often a lot of the people who commission me are looking for a logical way to give me money in a way that doesn't feel weird, like it's not a handout, and quite clearly don't really care what I'm drawing as long as I'm just interacting with them in a positive way where we could both benefit. And I think some people are not okay with that. I don't mind at all. The only thing I ever care about is being name dropped. That makes me feel icky. Like when someone's like, I know this person, and it's like, ugh. Thankfully, I never really hear that unless I hear it secondhand, but that's been less an issue now that my fame star burns less hot than it used to. But back in the early 2010s, that was a constant annoyance I had. Yeah, so back in the day, that's the case. You'd have a stable of artists drawing your family and all your rich friends, and you keep them employed just drawing all your house, your family, all your privilege, so you could put it up all on the wall and admire all your privilege. So that's correct. That is actually the case. Listen, guys, you think art supplies are expensive? Wait till you find out how much pigments cost to make when there's only 10 guys who paint in the world. Like having to make pigments and then linseed oil press, like clean oil, and then stretched canvases and all that shit. You know, graphite's not even really a thing. You're using like artist charcoal. It's not commodified yet. That's like a very, very specific. Listen, I don't blame your dad. That's just because tech bros are targeting people with doodads, with toys. Not malice. Just that we're completely beholden to these fuckholes, these fuckasses. It's getting harder and harder to fight them off. All their dumb shit. What do you guys think of this rock? I think I improved it. I think my initial rock needed a bit of work, and I think I'm learning to draw these rocks a little. It's also nice to know that I can come back to like a drawing like this and improve it. And it's not like, oh, like I have to redraw it. I think that's why I like the hatching style, because you can kind of build up an image over time. And learn to like improve it. Like it's not a lost cause. I think when it comes to like, think about a lot of my frustration with when I draw, you know, anatomy and an anime style is that there's just a very confined way to succeed, and you have to satisfy that. But with like this sort of thing, you can kind of like poke at it over time. You know, there's some play. Yeah, I know for sure. I think I'm going to stop now, but also learning to not overdraw is important. So it's actually good to overdraw and then go like, oh, I fucked that up. Don't overdraw. I do think I could put a few pools of black, but you know, that's like, I learned how to put pools of black was from overdrawing. It's like you learn Overdrawing is an important lesson to learn of not fucking up your drawing, learning when to stop, right? I'm Control Zing, I'm trying not to, but I think I'm gonna try. I like this one. This one came out really nice. I still really like this. It's hard for me to like make this happen on my own, but as soon as I have like an example, I think that's why I really need to like curate references like this, because they can come in and re-explore these ideas. I think this barrel came out really good. I think it's one of my better drawings. Yeah, I think this is the best way to do it. I'm just kind of thinking out loud in my drawings here. That review. I still like this. It was not really that close, but I like this sort of style. It does require a lot of work, though. It's one of those things where I'd leave it for like the back of a book or a cover or something. Take care. See ya. I think I'm done. This page is fun. I'm gonna post this to the Discord. Post a few of the things. The day's doodles. I'm trying to think of how I can take this kind of initial inspiration and then spin it into, like, if I'm making a comic and taking this, like, start here at the start, like, so an hour of this, and then move that into comics me. So that I can, like, harbor that energy. Alright, dude, can someone link it? The invitation? Or, oh fuck, it's on one of my videos. I accidentally fucked up and made a new invitation, and then I had to relink everything. 1 second. Go to YouTube. It's under one of my videos here. I should put it under my put it under. Oh, that's. I should put it in my channel. There we go. What do you mean older art accounts? I have like I post almost daily under all my accounts. I'm just never being promoted. What do you mean? I post under Doxy, I post under Onto almost daily. It just Twitter never promotes me, but Blue Sky sort of does. I've never stopped drawing, guys. I just stopped being promoted. I'm gonna have to end soon and then move over to something where I can, I need to go look at all my commission work I gotta do. And then I got to organize it and start working on whatever is remaining. So I can't dick around here too much. Are you getting good W's? Did it. Guy's a winner. This is my rectangle brush. I have two kinds. This gives the appearance like of a ballpoint pen. This is why you kind of use it. Like a marker, sorry. Then I use an airbrush, small airbrush. Then I use two overlay layers. I often use this brush as well. This one. Yeah, it helps me, but it's because I'm training that process. So outside of this, what I do is I actually draw. I try to, like, I have references where I've drawn this with like actual like real life models and other references, and then I've started to get a really strong feeling of when those squares are in the right spot. So the squares are less about me trying to learn anything, and it's more like a shorthand, like an innate response. And it's like this the quickest, simplest way in my mind that I could be like, how can I represent you know, the features? Because the only other way is to draw dots, but the problem with dots is they can't really visualize like shadow pools and stuff like that. But you can like draw a face by drawing, you know, the corners of the eyes, bridge of the nose, the other eyes, eyebrow, the nostrils. You can do it like this, and I've done it like this. Now you can do that, and then, right? But it's slower, and I found that having a big brush that I can blob stuff I want into the right spot. But I'm always too. With blobs, I find it's easier to solve this problem, which is I always put one eye too low. And now I'm just learning like this blob goes here, this blob goes there. And if there's a space like that, then it's a 3/4 face, and then I can draw the rest around it. Whereas if I draw this line and I try to draw stuff slowly drifts back into place. Does that make sense? So these features slowly drift because your mind wants to see them flat. So it's more of a way to create guidelines. Yeah, it does help. I think Pro Mang Art does that, and I don't particularly hate that process. I think he's right to teach that. I think we all have our particular ways. There's also, I find, drawing the face shield, the keeping the features in a little box is really beneficial for a lot of people, especially if you go in and draw on top of faces and see exactly how limited the feature set is. Like when you do this and you realize, oh hey, like a person's actual facial features only like fill up like the smallest amount of shape. Of the head, then you go like, oh, like, yeah, I'm drawing the face too big. Thank you. I enjoy that you appreciate my balls. Yeah, when you start like really aging the features, it becomes clear like how much you're overdrawing the feature creep is. And I just learned that you go over, just go, by the way, by tracing. So just find some photographs, like of people's faces, you know, and then like go over them and draw a box around the eyebrows. I do top of the lip, and the reason I do that is because the lower mouth can move up and down, so it's not a consistent thing. So I do where the teeth are, and then you go like, oh, like when you look at a face, and then you draw the whole mass, and you go, you do a little bit of math. Here, I'll just show you. You do this, okay? And then if you take this and you start stacking them up, you know, and you take these extra little spots here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if you take this, this, and this, you probably have 5. So, you know, out of, I don't know what the math is out of, but you know, you get the idea. I wish it was 4 parts out of 5, because then I can do that math. But anyway, you get the idea. So only like 20 to 25% of the face is actually facial features most of the time, and then maybe 35, right? And then from the side, it's like down to 10. But you know, when you're looking at someone, you're thinking you're looking at their face. The idea that everything's just kind of like washed up in a little area doesn't feel right, because when you think of a person, you don't think big sphere with tiny features in a corner. Think. So it's really good to make abstract concepts like that to get the truth of the matter, not what your eyes perceive. That's the same thing with like when I look at eyes, when I'm like looking at a reference, I've actually quite often stopped drawing this line. It's funny, anatomy is the easiest part for me. Like crazy anatomy, and it's because it doesn't require subtlety. It's just a bunch of shapes. So I don't know, that there's a bunch of YouTubes on how to help that. I wouldn't be able, I don't think it's worth me covering that. But when it comes for me to drawing faces lately, I'm less concerned about the angle of the face like this. I mean, I do use it to correct. And it's more when I look at an eyes, I go, how much is this eye above this eye? Is it one eye's width? Is it this much? Is it this much? Like a abstract geometric concept. And it's because anime and stylized stuff is an abstract geometric concept. And quite often, if you trace over lines over anime, especially the ones you like and you think look good, not even anime, just all graphic styles. And I think this is just because your brain has a natural desire to straighten out the eyes. Eyes don't fall along this curve like this. What they do is one will be kind of flat, and the other one will be on the normal line, and the other one will be tilted. Does that make sense? One will be tilted along the path, and the other one will be adjusted to be more normal. One will go like this way, and one will go this way. Especially in stylized. Yeah, so I'm trying to, instead of trying to make them match anatomy, which they don't, I'm trying to find their proportionality and their abstract, how they function abstractly. And I dare you to look at anime and find any fucking eyes that actually, especially the more, you know, enjoyed style. You'll find a situation where you draw a line, but that line is actually not obeying how the eyes are drawn. You'll draw a line like this, and if you do that, what happens is the rest of the face is actually kind of off. And it's because this one eye is tilted or stylistically modified to be more appealing. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you're trying to apply true human anatomy to anime and other graphic styles because they don't apply always. Same with like, there's some tutorials where like anime art directors are like, you can draw this face and then put a face down here, or you can put a face up here. Like, or you could do this. You know, they're looking away. Or one eye is hidden. Right? Like, that's not how any of that works in real life. So your priority for anime, if you make that observation, is not draw a skull, draw lines, draw objects. It's mastering this shape. You want to learn this shape, like by heart, and you need it to be exactly right every time. And then you need to have the front-facing version of that shape perfect every time. So just, if you wanted to learn anime, just draw the three or four perfect anime head shapes, and then learn how to place those features on there, because that's what the anime style is. It's not, I'm learning a face and I'm learning a sorrow head and things go on planes. It's not that at all. It will help. It will help you understand how to create depth and add, like drawing the Asaro head and learning anatomy will help to show you how to obscure facial features and how to draw lips and stuff. But it's a mistake for people to lean back on realism and on traditional art if their only goal is anime, because it will not produce anime results. It will produce kind of Western comic style results, or, you know, a hybrid. But if your goal is anime, then your goal is to find all the geometric abstract shapes first, learn to draw them with perfection, which honestly I don't even think it's that hard. I think you could probably nail how to draw this one shape in about a month time. If that's all you do, you have little flashcards, you know, of the different anime heads you like, contextualized to who these characters are, and you just draw that. And then once you have that template down, you're not really limited to what you're doing with it. No, you can. I mean, there's artists that have like a mix of the style. I'll show you one. But it's always kind of like, it's a otome no teikoku, where you can kind of mix the two, but it's still an abstraction, right? You can shove more realistic facial features on your characters, but it's anime is like a shorthand, and it's like that on purpose because you're trying to pump out comics. Here, I'll show you this one. You're trying to pump out comics and get a lot of work done. So like, I like this artist a lot, and they put, you know, they put noses and more realistic features. But let's be clear about a few things. This eye is too close to the side of the head. Like, you know, eyebrows in the wrong place. It's stylized. Just, you know, if I were to break this down, I'd be like, okay, do a real head, and you know what I mean? Like, this eye is way too far off. And if we look at the eye placement, right? So let's go from the edge of the eye to this, like this. We go from there to there. We draw a straight line. You know what I mean? Like, things are off. That's fine. It's the appeal of shape. It's about graphic design and learning how to manipulate your facial, especially like faces. It's about learning how to put the faces. Anime style is more about the space around the facial features and the directions the features go and the grouping of those features. So it's like this eye's here, and the nose is close. And the mouth is here, and there's all this space around. And it fits snugly inside this like canvas. It is not about drawing a 3D shape and fitting all these features in here. That helps to have that to better execute everything, especially angles that you aren't good at. But this is my, once again, my annoyance with, you know, all the tutorials on this is that they say you want to get good at something, draw boxes and do anatomy and learn traditional. It's like, that's half the story. You want that because you want to have good base. You want that because you want good observation skills, okay? So that when you're looking at something, you're matching it. So it's like, and the only way to really learn anatomy accurately is from real life, because a photograph is never wrong. An illustration is a solved version of real life. Some artist solved, how do I draw this in a stylistic way? So there's a flaw in learning just from art, because you're just looking at art in its solved state. You look at real life and you take a photograph of someone in any position, in any angle, their anatomy is never wrong. It's always true and correct. So you can be absolutely sure you're always drawing the correct thing, especially if you overlay. But, you know, did anatomy help him draw this head that's wrong? Like, this guy, I like this guy as an artist, but, you know, there's flaws. It doesn't matter, because it's a fun comic and it's cute. But drawing this head accurately didn't make this comic come out faster. And it didn't make the fans, like, laugh harder at the scene. You want it to be good enough to express your feelings and your thoughts and your story, but not terrible enough to distract your audience. It needs to provide, it's a tool to express yourself, and that could be other things, just the art alone. Yes, that's, anime looks very samey. That's true. But I didn't say this is what you do to have a creative new style and invent your own style. I said, if you want to draw in an anime style, not about learning anatomy, and it's not learning about traditional, it's about learning graphic design. I'm full of insecurities, guys. Constantly. And every day I don't know if I'll be good or bad at drawing. And sometimes I feel really good and sometimes I feel bad, and it's still a fight. I don't know what to tell you for that. What I've been doing recently is cursive practice. So I do like brushwork and cursive practice. Like I'll do like on a sheet, and I'll do that until I match the guidelines enough, and I'll be like, okay, I'm confident enough to start drawing now, because I have something to practice on, and I know how good my accuracy is, so that I won't be fighting against my inaccuracy. So it'll be more about what I know and less about how I'm drawing. But yeah, like, and I can draw them in both ways. And this is after this is an observation I've made over the years in different ways, but specifically in the last few months because I've been trying to decode anime style, and the more I spend time with it, the more I realize it's more about, like I said, graphic design choices and less about, you know, I drew a good face. I drew a realistic face. If you want to draw a realistic face, you just draw these pools of light. Draw this. You draw this. You draw this and then you put your phone up. It'll detect this as a face. If you put this, if you draw this shape like this, and you pull up your phone, you take a picture of it, it'll auto detect a face. It won't detect a face with this. A realistic human face is closer to this than it is to this. And that's why painters have it easier, because they just have to learn how to draw these shapes, these like shadow shapes, and then inside of those shapes they can learn to like render. But as soon as you learn how to draw these like shadow pools, then everything else gets kind of easy. And now it's just about the precision of your observation. Yeah. No, I haven't played that game. What was the thing I was saying? Yeah, my letter writing's garbage, and I don't think it has to be. And I'm using my calligraphy stuff as a dual approach to mostly to like help improve my inking skills and confidence and my handwriting at the same time. And I think it's actually been helping quite a lot. And I mean, I'm known for a very graphic style. I can draw, like, when it comes to panty and stocking here, I know, I've always noticed this. When you draw panty stocking, this is curved and this is straight. But the head is always chin, curved, straight. And you do that not for logical reasons. It's because it helps counterbalance the curve and this ear. That's a graphic design decision, not an anatomy decision. You're making that decision because it looks good graphically. And the thing with anime, and I think people very quickly confuse anime with reality because it looks real enough to them that they really can't see how far away from reality it is. But, you know, faces aren't spades. They aren't shovels with big saucer eyes on them. That's not what a face looks like. Like, that's not gonna get you, that's not what a human face looks like at all. It looks like pools, depending on the lighting source, this is what our brain registers as a face, and this is what facial recognition software recognizes as a face. If you're going to draw realistic faces, it's better for you to focus on how to represent value, shadow, and all that stuff. So even if you were to start learning proper anatomy, how is this going to turn into a shovel head? Like, how does this apply? It doesn't. It can help you maybe with lighting and stuff after you've drawn it, but I mean, I did some recently. I still do on my personal time. I just don't think I post them. I did one a while ago. I did an abstract painting. I don't know, color on computers doesn't do much. I like color in my sketch pad, but not in where I drew these, but this has been a while now. Do this is whatever. And then I actually like doing this a lot. I like abstract color painting, but I don't like precision. I've earned quite a strong aversion, and I didn't even care to like match the colors. I like the shapes and the values and stuff. Anyway, the point I'm making is learning art anime isn't about... There's a point where there's diminishing returns when it comes to like learning all this, like, oh, draw this method where you draw a line, like draw a crosshair in this. And then what you'll see is a lot of these artists, they'll teach you to draw a crosshair, and then they'll just draw this shape. By the way, they'll just draw this shape. But quite honestly, just draw this shape. Just draw this shape first. Learn the whole, and not only that, it'll teach you to draw the whole head. In fact, if I were to tell you how to draw, if I were to come back in time and tell myself how to draw anime, just learn to draw this. Okay, learn to draw the default head in a few angles. Oops, pretty bad. Okay, draw this, and then learn how to draw the neck, where the neck goes. It's really important. And then learn how, and then up to the collarbone like this. Okay, always as a full set. Learn this as a full set. Don't just do this. Don't just do this. Learn the head, the neck, and the collarbone as a full set, because this will help you avoid the problem where I can always draw a head but I can't put it on the neck, or I don't know how to put the head on the body, or I don't know how to make the head, blah 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 blah. My canvas is usually 5,000 pixels. It's just because I like drawing a bunch of stuff on the one canvas. Anyway, that way when you're studying, you've already learned how to place this shit, and you don't have the problem later where you're trying to fit puzzle pieces that don't work together. But here, like, I've drawn this head, and it's just like, oh, well, this head is facing away. Or, hey, they're looking up. What's going on over there? How is it possible that my character is looking up? When it was just a second ago, I was looking away. How is it possible that they're now in profile? It's all acceptable. It's because they've templatified the face and head, and this shape is more important than any other substructure. Putting a little crosshair, doing all these construction lines do not function. Now, once again, please don't take this as an excuse to just do this only. I don't think it'll help you in the long run, but I think if your only goal is to learn animate, then only learn the head shape, and then learn how to place the features on there, and then have fun. If that's all you want, then don't worry about any of the other shit. I'm not gonna... No, the only person who's telling you that you're not a good enough artist is yourself. If your only joy, the only thing you want out of life is to be able to draw cool anime heads and your friends as anime people and make them like say jokes and shit, then fucking do that. Don't complicate this process. The only time this doesn't really apply is when the face is looking towards you. But then all that the face towards you shape is you take this shape and then you move it over until it's, until it's like straightened out. And now the head is facing you. And you just shove another ear on there. Right? That's not what I wanted art, but I wanted to solve this for me, and this is the observation I made. I want to learn how to draw, you know, realistic faces and all sorts of stuff. I don't want to be making any more like mistakes when it comes to where the eyes hit and where the eyebrows are. I want to draw people's faces and their likenesses, so I want to be able to observe what people look like and then match their likeness. So I want to be able to draw this as well. This comes from a different position. This is about blotting in features in relative shape to each other. And then everything else has to fit in after that. Like, and that's the thing I noticed when I was doing a lot of like Earth's world portraits. When you go out there in the real world, there's some crazy ass looking people, right? Where, you know, they kind of look like this. They kind of look like this. It's like not an exaggeration, you know, like you know, down at the fair. This is what they look like. It's not an exaggeration and even a little bit. And that's just because they're fucking fat. You know, their skull's still there. But if you don't expose yourself to a bunch of ugly people, or, you know, you're always exposed to anime, it's hard to, like, allow your brain to accept that there's, like, anything but this. And that's why anime suffer from that problem where it's like, it's time to draw an old person, and then it's just like, here's an old person. It's just, it's the same shape. So this is where it gets you into trouble. It's like you want to draw an old person and you can't because you're like, okay, draw that shape, and then what? And then you haven't learned like how the shape of the face changes over when people get older. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what to exaggerate. You know, that's the thing I'm trying to learn is like when you're drawing like an actual MILF, you know, their noses are a little bigger. There's more prominent, like this shape is more prominent. Obviously, you know, there's more crow's feet. There's usually a subtle line in the forehead you can do. Uh, there's more, like, there's a softer chin, like that. And you can only kind of learn this if you do like traditional, like the old-fashioned looking at people learning, not anime face hacks. They're just going to be observations you're going to make over time. Honestly, if you want to make someone look, I'll just give them old granny glass. That's the trick. Anyway, but you're not going to really see that because this is too divergent from the style. It kind of breaks the mold. It breaks the cage, the realistic anime face cage. But being able to draw something like this, especially from memory, this comes from my exposure to like hundreds of faces I drew where it's like, and noticing while I'm drawing what they look like. I remember there was this one girl, this old fucking lady, and she had like, this was her fucking profile. I couldn't believe it. And it just stuck with me forever. I can draw her now, but it's just because while I was drawing her, I was like, there's no fucking way. And that can only come from exposure and observation, like focused observation. But like, not in a million years would I draw this had I not had an exposure to a person who looked like this. It's crazy. This is a crazy thing to draw. Just like she was this old woman with crazy crazy fucking hair. Like no face. It was like all the face was down here. So that sort of exposure is important, and I think it helps break the rules for you enough for you to not feel limited. I think that's that same face syndrome comes from trying to only draw pretty faces. But if you understand the rules of a real face, which is there really isn't that many rules, it's more about relative positioning. So it's like it isn't about drawing eyes in the right spot. A real person's face is just about the relative positioning of the features to each other and if they make sense. So if you like, you know, if the guy's got a really long head and a long beard, if everything's in the right spot, it works, right? More about accuracy over precision. It's not about how good those features are drawn. It's just how everything fits in relation to itself. Draw a guy with a big mustache looking down, so it's like kind of this distorted. How much is supposed to be visible? Because honestly, it comes down to it. It's not about individual components. It's about its whole. Yeah, I think they're pretty good. I would say exactly Mobius. I think he doesn't know how to draw a real hot bitch. Sorry, YouTube. I don't know how I don't think he can draw a real hot woman. But like Milo Manara is closer on that front. But, you know, it's up to your taste. Oh, here, accuracy. I'll just show it to you. This is precision. Not going to write it all. This is precision. This is a dartboard, by the way. And these are where all my darts are hitting. And this is accuracy. Okay, accuracy is this. Okay, you want this to draw this first. But most people fall into this. What this represents is a hyper detailed eye. Okay, this, all the features and all the shines on the planet, and then not knowing where the other eye goes, not knowing where anything else goes. So you got a very, very, very. So then you have another grouping of very precise components, right? But they're not. You don't know where to put them, right? What you want is this. What this represents is like, this is a face, and the eye goes generally here, the nose goes here, and the mouth goes here. You want to learn that first, or the shadows of the this is a face, and when the light's on the left, it sort of looks like this. All right. This is accuracy. And what you want to do is over time, your grouping gets smaller and smaller until it becomes precision, right? As you learn to group, then you can be like, you get better at this, then you can start blocking in more. If you want to get good fast at art and you want to don't want to fucking waste time and you're tired of not do this, please. This is what I've been doing. It's helped me a lot, even after 20 years of drawing. There's still room for improvement and to learn the right lessons, even if it's way late in the game. And then once you learn that, that, then you can learn, right there, that full. And then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get the picture. What the problem is that most people, they're doing this and they're having a hard time improving because they're focusing on components, and it never closes. It never gets smaller, smaller and smaller. It always just stays this. And then the more things they learn, it's still just precise components, but the grouping never shrinks. What you want is you want this. You want big that's why I recommend big markers and like big tools. Draw big, huge brushes. Just learn to block in, you know. If you're observing something and there's an eye on this side, it's more important to you for you to realize that it's this shape and that it's very narrow than for you to learn how to draw the eye and know that there's an eye inside and then there's eyelashes that go like this. This is precision work. This is accuracy work. Focus on it being a wedge. Because once you have that wedge, you can learn all this stuff and still play within the rules of what you've learned. So you're like, okay, I know that that's just that small wedge there when it's at that angle. But now I can try to fit all the things I've learned. So if there's an eye like this, there's a paw like this. The eyelash should go like that. The eye, you know, and then you can work all your precision into that wedge. And also, I think this, if anyone wants to follow this up again, this video is going to be saved. I guess it auto saves on YouTube. But yeah, like fundamentally, and this is why I'm also talking about, like, it seems like this is the opposite. This is precision. It isn't. This is once again top-down concept. You're looking for, you want to contain your features in the right shape, right? Because it's more of a graphic style. So learning this is about accuracy. So you're building a giant, you're telling your mind where the grouping of features go. And then you can learn the precision, and then you can learn precision inside that box. But you really want to know where your precision is going to go first. And if you're always drawing nice detailed eyes in the wrong spots, you're going to be frustrated. Whereas this is just like learning to draw the head, learning to draw the eye, the nose in a few angles, and the lips. Oh, the book? A while ago? Yeah, I should do more books. I'm trying to get myself back in business and get good with doing funders and stuff. I've just been pretty non-functional. I'm trying to be more on top of my game. Sure. And listen, once again, I'm just a person. I don't have education and schooling, but I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I've been really focusing on this recently, and I think I've improved a lot. So I have improved a lot as a person who's already, I think people think is already very skilled, and I think that says more about what I'm learning than just being a new artist who's improving fast, because there are early gains you get as a starting artist that are a lot harder to squeeze out or correct later down in the game. And I think the correction of art is a lot harder, a trick to pull off, of ingrained decades-long habits. But yeah, this has been my approach, and I think, like I was talking in my Discord a lot, it's a lot about, yeah, it's a lot about just like not doing the stuff I always would do. And I think it's really helped, especially with like Also quick corrections and stuff. Like I can tell what's wrong with my images way faster now. Almost immediately. I'm not having to you know, draw and redraw and redraw. I can just be like, okay, it just needs to be moved up real quick. And it's interesting and a little, I don't want to say annoying, but definitely a lot of what defined my style as an artist and what made me very visible. I've come to understand a lot of that is just stuff I use, methods and techniques I use to hide my inability to draw certain things. And it's kind of funny to like think that I'm kind of losing some of what's made me like some of my identity and some of my style and what made me stand out to improving. That's why I always say this, guys. If you want to be a successful artist, don't think that it's just by drawing better that's going to give you success. It's not about that even a little bit. If your thinking is like, oh, if I just draw a little better, I'll get more popular, you're wrong. What you want to do is, you want to be popular, you need to draw popular things. If you want to be successful, you have to draw successful things. And that's all reliant on current climate, what people like, what people are willing to pay for, the zeitgeist, the moment, timing, social media, promotion, all that stuff. But to think that, oh, if I just draw good, that'll solve everything. It's not, that's not how that is. Like, if you look at Sam Does Art isn't popular because he's good at drawing faces. It's because he drew cute girl faces on Instagram when Instagram was promoting that. I don't think Sam Does Art could do well if he was started now on Instagram, because Instagram no longer really promotes that sort of content. I think it's not what you guys think it is if you're thinking drawing better makes your life, solves all your life's problems. So for this brush, there's almost, so I've been drawing with a lot less variation, so there's just a little bit of fall off, but this one has almost no, I mean, this is just a rectangle that repeats over and over with with just a bit of pressure. That goes from like small to thick, but only a little bit. But even here, like I said, I still have problems. Like I know I still trying to draw like stylized MILF faces, and I know there's still some stuff I'm having problems with, but I'm no longer willing to accept that I have those problems. I'm like fighting daily against it. But I know that this is good enough. Like I know that if you just learn like some simple rules, you can just probably have a successful career as an anime artist if you learn this. This is probably all you need to know, guys. And I don't mean that to be reductive, but this line, this line, this line, and the eye line, this is all you need to know. And then, you know, you can just, the nose is aligned, the eyebrows are aligned, and then the hair is whatever the fuck you want it to be. I've seen terrible ears in well-known animes that are just like little Dorito chips. You can fake the rest, but if you, what you can't fake is this, the outer shape, this shape. You can't fake this, So I say focus on that. And you can't fake this kind of shape, and you can't fake the eye shape and the directions they face. Like it goes on this way and this way. All right. Oh, Danny Dorito ears. Here, let me draw Danny Dorito ears. What way should he face? I'm like, gonna have a stupid hat on. Have a cone head. Danny Dorito ears. You guys like this character? My new character. He's got that smug rear end look. He's got Dorito lips too. He's just finished eating a bag of them. Oh yeah, no, it's not Kronk. I don't know what Kronk looks like. I'd have to look it up. Oh, who's Danny DeVito ears? See what I can probably draw Danny DeVito. 1 second. Did you know Danny DeVito is just like 2 inches too tall to be considered like a short person, a medically short person? Like very close. All right, he looks like this. He looks like he looks like Eggman. See if I can get him. Got this. He's still married to Rhea Perlman. His face is more of a cube. Got big glasses. Don't really know how to draw him. This is the first time I drew him. I don't know. I don't think I've successfully nailed him yet. I think I need a little more Danny DeVito time. Maybe his nose is a little. Make his nose very small. I think I need more time. He's got like it's close, but it's not close enough. Yeah, I mean, I could draw him as the Penguin, probably. Yeah, I'll nail him as the Penguin because he's got easy features. Not him. It's not really him. It's like fake, fake Danny, fake nose. Still Danny DeVito hair though. He was a lot more slender back in the ye old days. Yeah, he had a good silhouette in the movie. They really nailed his silhouette here. Check this out. He was basically Eggman. I actually was pretty nice to him. He's actually far worse looking in the reference. Let me correct this. There we go. There, I did him better. I'm making him too handsome. I can't believe I'm saying that while drawing a sphere with limbs. It was just so fucking crazy. This is not even, you know how they're like, you gotta stylize things for cartoons? There's nothing to do here. If anything, I was underselling it. Here, I'll show you. Let's see how wrong I got it. He's tilted a little too far. He barely exaggerated this. I recommend you do this, by the way, guys. Maybe not all the time, from time to time, to really have an understanding of what your flaws might be. He's like, I didn't even do anything wrong. This is how he chose to make a bunch of money looking like this. This is his fucking decision. I didn't fucking do anything. He said yes to this. And I refuse to believe he's wearing any cosmetics. Alright, let's see what he looks like now. You know, I feel I've captured him enough. Maybe the arm's a little too big. Let me just fix that one arm. I need to make sure. I remove his hot booty I gave him. There you go. Do you think Joaquin would say that when he was jerking off, he would Joaquin one off? Stop whacking off. Whack him off. Yeah, he literally looks like a, honestly, if you drew him in the Spider-Verse, you wouldn't have to do anything. You could just do a 3D scan of him and then you'd be done. All right, I think I'm done. I think we're gonna wrap up. I gotta get some commissions done, so I gotta stop dicking around and crack open my commissions, see where I'm at, and start getting them progress. So I'll see you guys around. Hope you guys have a nice day and all that stuff. Take care and good luck and shit. Is it like how Jack Black wants to be the first MPreg games actor? All right. See ya, Jack Black lovers.